Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Iyun to lean on. Today we are starting a new section of Halachas Hilchos Beis HaKnesses, Siman Kuf Nun 150 in Archaim. Binyan Beis HaKnesses. The first halacha talks about if you have a new city, you can force each other, you have a minion of people, you can force each other to fundraise and build a shul, or at least to rent it in the interim and then to build one ultimately. Again, the Mishnah Berurah explains it's only talking about a place where they don't have a shul, or they have a shul, it's just the shul is small, too small, and they need to build another shul. Because they don't have enough room in the first shul. If they have enough room in the first shul, Mishnah Berurah said it's usher to build a new shul, and he gives a couple of reasons in the Shar Tziyun. One is Rava Amadros Melech. It's more beautiful for a king to be praised by a multitude of people than to be praised by a number of smaller shuls. Secondly, it causes machlokes and nezek and damage because a unified front will raise more money for tzedakah. And also the Talmud Torah will be better. People will learn in the shul also. When there's more people in a shul, the learning's better. If there's only a couple of people in the shul, it's harder to learn in a shul like that. So therefore, spreading out into a lot of different shuls will have a negative effect on the Limud Torah and the tzedakah. Now, I'd like to add one more thing over here. There's a Gemara Yevamos. The Gemara Yevamos says, Los Iskodedu, it's a pasuk in Parsh Kedoshim. There's a couple different drashas what it means, but one explanation of the Gemara has a drasha. Los Sasu Agudos. You shouldn't make agudos. You shouldn't make different groups in Klal Yisrael. The Hasidish party here in Israel is called Aguda. They have a song, Agud, and Aguda Convention. You have the Aguda Convention in America, the Aguda movement in America, which I think is loosely related to the Aguda, which is the branch of Hasid, the political party of Hasidus here in Israel. Aguda. I mean, really, Los Sasu Agudas Aguda. You shouldn't be Aguda. There should be Aguda political party in Israel, an Aguda convention, Aguda movement in America. The point is that all Klal Yisrael should be unified, and in a smaller sense, in a community, there should be one shul. And I said this to the mayor, Yitzhak Ravis, here in Telstone, before he became mayor. I suggested that at that point, this was a number of years ago, there were at least 10 shuls here. It's a community which only has about 5,000 residents. I said that we should de-escalate the amount of shuls. Certainly not build more shuls, and just make 3 shuls. It's a distant walk from one end of Telstone to the other end. So put one at each end and one in the middle. This shul that I'm in here, that I use here, I daven, is the main shul in Telstone because the rabbi of the shul is the official rabbi according to the government of Telstone. So that makes it the main shul of Telstone. It is, I think, the biggest shul in Telstone, maybe, and it's in the middle. So I think this should be the main shul in Telstone. I said I shouldn't have so many shuls here. Until he said no. He responded to me that the Shvatim, there were 12 sons of Yaakov Avinu, and they all had their own minhagim. But at the end of the day, they daven to the same God. So therefore, everyone, the Sephardim have their own shul, the Litvish have their own shul, Litvish number 2 have their own shul, Litvish number 3 have their own shul, this Chassidus has their own shul, this Chassidus has their own shul. End of the day, and then you have the people that want to wake up late, the people that want to wake up early, people want to have the Kiddush, people don't want to talk, people that want to talk. So you have a lot of different shuls. This is not just in Telstone. This is every Jewish community in the world. They have the joke, how many shuls is in the community? There's 9 people, there's 10 shuls. I make less than they have one shul that no one's davening at. The point is, there's more shuls than people. So it's a sad thing, and it's a violation of the Gemara, because the Gemara is saying, Lasso Agudos. Now, the Gemara has a machlokas in Abaye and Rava. The Gemara says Abaye says it means you shouldn't have in one town you should have a beis din who is Mora one way, they give a psak one way, and a beis din is Mora the other way. Rava says no, that's okay. In one city you could have 2 batei dinim, but you can't have one beis din that says one thing. That some of the dayanim or some of the rabbanim say one thing, some of the rabbanim say the other thing. That's what let's go to do. Now I explained in my Iyun shir that I believe Abaye and Rava are both accepted halacha. And it's clear based on Toz's question over there that Abaye is accepted halacha partially. And there's 2 reasons given in Los Agudas Agudas. Rashi says in Mesachos Yevamos, because it looks like shtei Toros. If 2 people are doing different minhagim in Klal Yisrael, it looks like 2 different Toros. And according to the Ram says it's going to cause machlokas. So I said, if it's one beis din, right? Rashi says shtei Toros, right? It's talking about one beis din. Half of beis din paskins one way, half of beis din the other way. It looks like 2 different Torahs. However, Abaye is accepted Allah according to the Rambam that los godu means that it's going to cause machlokas. If you have two bati dinim or two shuls in one thing in one city, oftentimes will cause machlokas. Or the reason you had two shuls is because of machlokas. People have to learn to sell their differences, not just on a communal level, on a personal level also. You'll have a problem. A lot of people have this problem. They get angry at somebody, and they had a relationship with that person. It was a business partner, it was a family member, a friend, and they just get angry. They get pissed off at the person, and he said did something wrong to them, insulted them, so they just cut off the relationship with them. And this is happens between parents and children, children and parents, and brothers and sisters, brothers and brothers, friends, community members. It happens all the time. People get insulted and they cut off the relationship. But if you're immature, if you're not a child, children, they always have to have their way. But if you're a mature adult, you realize that oftentimes it's better to make peace with people and to get along. Why should you sever a good relationship that you had with somebody, or they should have with somebody, just because they upset you or not? Talk to them, say you upset me, tell them your grievance with them, and try to rectify it and try to make peace between yourselves. And on a larger scale, it's the same thing with shuls. People a lot of time breakaway shuls start because again some internal machlokas in the shul, something stupid about Kiddush club. They don't have let the Kiddush club. They do let the Kiddush club. There's talking and there's no talking. This shul is better because it has this chassidus or that chassidus. This rabbi is better or that rabbi is better. There's so many different reasons why people could just find reasons to separate, right? And that is not a good thing, right? That's what Rashi says. He says by the one thing that was great about Migdal Bavel, right, is that they all got along together. There was peace between them. That's why it wasn't the Mabul. The Mabul happened because the people were stealing from each other. They didn't get along. So that's why the whole world was wiped out by the Mabul. But the punishment for Migdal Bavel, they just got dispersed to different places. But they weren't destroyed entirely because they got along with each other. Even though they were showing them Migdal Bavel, whatever Migdal Bavel was, they Migdal Bavel. Thinking about Babylonia, Iraq, the Gulf states, and they're building this Jeddah Tower in Saudi Arabia. I'm not saying it's Migdal Bavel, but I'm not saying Saudi Arabia is Bavel, but they are building the tallest, bigger than Dubai. Dubai is the biggest one. What is it called? Burj Khalifa or something like that. So they're building the Jeddah Tower. I suppose it's supposed to be ready soon in Saudi Arabia, even taller than that. So, but the point is that Migdal Bava, they got along, and even Rishon, they can get along. People can get along for whatever. It's always better to get along with somebody, make peace with them, because it's better to have people together. It's always better to have relationships with people than to have not relationships with people. That's just the way of the world. To have relationships, to have good relationships with people, with countries, with communities, everything is always better to make peace together. So I believe it's a violation, according to the Rambam, according to Abaye, and the Gemara goes, agudos. When you make two different shuls, even if it's one's Litvish and one's Sephardi, or one's Hasidish and one's a different Hasidus, it's a violation. Let's just go to agudos. It's like making two Bate Dinim. A shul has a rabbi, which basically is the Beis Din. There's no actual Beis Din. Bate Dinim now, the Beis Din usually is a Rav of a shul. So that's the same thing what the Gemara is saying. When you're having one shul with one Rav, another shul with a different Rav, you're violating Los So Agudas according to the Gemara, which is a Nisr Dal Raisa, which he fails to mention the Mishabur over here. He does bring a Radvaz over here that says that sometimes it's better to make two different shuls because they're not davening Lev Echad. They don't have the same heart. Some are davening to one God, some are davening to another. Some are davening to Jesus, some are davening to Allah. I don't know. I'm joking, but what do you mean they're davening to different people? We're all Jews. Who are we davening to? The same God. I don't know what that means. He says that they don't get along. I mean, they're machlokes and they have their ra to their leave to different people, not in the same place. It seems like he's saying that their leave is not l'shem shamayim. Don't know exactly what he means. So he says maybe in that case it's better to separate. But I don't believe that. You should get along. Learn to get along. I always said, I believe in Klal Yisrael. I think Hasidus was a mistake to begin with. I'll say it on air. I really believe Hasidus is a mistake to begin with. We give so much credence to the Gra, and the Gra was vehemently against Hasidus. You see what Hasidus has become nowadays. And the emotional aspect of Judaism, for a lot of people, far surpasses the intellectual aspect. And the whole premise of the Torah is about knowledge, of the understanding of the Torah. It starts with the intellect, and as the Mesilas Yesharim says, the intellect controls your emotions. We don't just have emotions and being Jewish. Unfortunately, that's the way it is nowadays. is that we're so attached to the emotional, the outside appearance. We look at a guy and he's wearing a strimal and he's wearing a gartel and he's wearing a bekisha, and some for Hasidim that's considered a Jew. But if you're dressed like a Litvish person, you're wearing a regular suit and jacket, it's like a guy, or even worse, someone who's wearing a kippah sruga, or he's wearing a colored shirt. Become a colored shirt has become like a taboo. Even though the Gemara in Megillah says that it's the opposite. People insist on only wearing white shirts. They're considered a min. They're considered a type. They're considered a heretic. Gemara says, look it up in Megillah. It's Allah and Shulchan Aruch. It's Allah and Mishnah and Megillah. But nonetheless, somehow our emotions overtaking us, and we see people in colored shirts. We disassociate with them. We say these people are like goyim. They treat them, people speak about them like goyim, but they're Jews. At the end of the day, they're Jews. They're a kippah sruga. It goes in the opposite direction also. People who wear kippah srugas, or they're secular or conservative or reform or whatever, and they see people that dress like Charedim. Avigdor Lieberman is, vehemently against, if not vehemently against, he has a strong hatred for Charedim, and unfortunately it goes in both directions, and it's very sad because at the end they were all Jews, and I believe to fix that we don't really have to adopt one minhag and one nusach and tefillah, and that should be it. You go after the robe. The Torah says the robe. You go achari rab lahatos. I have no problem with Sephardim. In fact, a lot of the Sephardim are more forgiving when it comes to secular practices. And the Hasidim, one nice thing about them is that they actually believe in working, not just the kollel system, which I'm very against. So you should take the best out of all the things, but make one type of thing. One nusach and tefillah, but that's where it should end. Judaism shouldn't be about your appearance on the outside, your emotional. We should dress like everybody else in the secular world, non-Jewish world. That's how you dress. A sense of fashion should be based on what the world does, not based on Judaism. You don't look Jewish. You're not Jewish. You don't dress Jewish. The Medrash, when it says about Mitzrayim, they didn't change their names. They didn't change their clothes. They didn't change. I forgot the other thing. They didn't change. It means they didn't do Averas in those aspects. They didn't wear kilayim. They didn't do Avodah Zarah. They didn't take on names of Avodah Zarah. A lot of people name their kids Christian or something like that after Avodah Zarah. That could be an Isser. However, it doesn't mean, why are you assuming it means that they had a special garb that they wore? And only if you wear Jewish garb. So what's today? What is Jewish garb? Is it the way Hasidim dress? Is it the way the Sephardim dress? The way the Litvish dress? Tucking your sitters in, tucking them out? I mean, what? Everything has to be different amongst everyone. The person who doesn't do as we do is considered to be doing it wrong, and they're not Jewish. It's a problem not just with the shuls, but it's a problem in general in getting along. And if we really are one people and we are a chosen nation and we are a light to the goyim, we have to get unified. We really do. We have to get together and say, listen, we're adopting one nusach, tefillah. That's the only thing which is important, that has to be standardized, and the rest of the things we're going to do like the rest of the world. And we're going to be normal people. We're not going to, there's a lot of enmity that you bring with the goyim when people see the way Jews, or especially former Jews, Haredim dress. They wear fedoras. They look funny in their fedoras. They wear stramas. They look funny. They associate all Jews with that, and why they're wearing these tefillin. That they say these people are just different. They're like weird. They say they're weird, they're different. Why you bring enmity among the goyim? The goyim are not going to like it. That's not an order to goyim. It's not a light to the goyim. You wear a light to the guy wearing a strimal, wearing a fedora when it went out of style 100 years ago. No, that's not a light to the goyim. Light to the goyim is to be like them, but to learn the Torah and to keep the Torah and show them what Torah is, and to practice the Torah in the least showy way. I mean, not to show, I'm always putting the mitzvah, the Torah mitzvahs in their face. You do it in private in your house or in shul, and be as normal as possible. And normal is defined by the way of the world. Chayrab lahatos, goyim are also considered people. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in the next one.